If you trim your ends and 2.5 weeks later they are rough, dry, bushy, and see-through again, please stop assuming that we automatically need another trim. At this point, your scissors may be retaining more length than you are. Bushy, dry, rough, very tangled ends are often a surface physics problem called weathering, and some of the things that we do to fix them, more products, more wetting, more combing, and more trimming, can make that weathering happen even faster. But before I explain why, let's do a quick audit of our ends. Raise a finger if you have trimmed your ends but the roughness returned within weeks. Raise a finger if your fingers move through your hair but stop at the final few inches. Raise a finger if your style looks defined until you reach the puffy or frizzy tips. Raise a finger if you keep adding oil and cream and grease, but the softness never lasts on your ends. Raise a finger if one side, your crown or your nape, is always rougher or shorter than the rest of your hair. Raise a finger if you have these problems even though you rarely use heat. If you score 3 or more, your routine may have several places where weathering is accumulating. The problem usually sits in one of 3 areas. Number 1, the surface is rough. Number 2, the hair is repeatedly swelling and drying. Or number 3, the foam on the hair is either insufficient or becoming residue. Once we understand which one is driving our problem, we will know how to make the oldest, finest ends of our hair behave better, stop feeling constantly rough, and start retaining length. By the end of this video, you'll have a simple routine that stabilizes your ends. You will know what to change on wash day, what product types and oils actually help, why trims just do not work, and when the scissors are genuinely really necessary. And near the end, I'll show you the trap that makes rough ends worse while we are actively trying to save them. Okay, quick grounding. The hair that you can see on your head is dead fiber. It cannot heal, it cannot regenerate in any way. Hair products can absolutely help improve the look, improve the feel, and improve the behavior of our hair. But most of that improvement is surface engineering. We're talking reducing friction, lowering combing force, controlling static, and reducing swelling. So the question before we trim our ends is, how do I reduce friction and force on the oldest and weakest parts of the strand of my hair so that it stops looking dry and feeling so tangled and damaged? Let's begin with rough ends. What are rough ends? Rough ends usually means that the ends tangle faster than you can keep up with. The curl pattern loses definition at the tips, right? And the ends frizz more as the day goes on. And the last few inches look like a different hair type compared to the other parts of our hair. That is weathering. The ends are weaker because they've lived a longer life and they have taken on more mechanical and environmental hits than the newer hairs near the scalp. They have been through more wash cycles, more detangling, more scrubbing and rubbing on our clothes, more touching, more fluffing. You know, when you tie your scarf, you deal with your ends. When you put on your bonnet, ends again. When you're doing your morning routine, night routine, the ends have been left in braids for much longer. The tip of a 24 centimeter long hair is roughly about 2 years old and has endured hundreds of washing and styling and detangling and touching, often resulting in a complete loss of the cuticle scales. The cuticle is the outer layer of the strands of the hair, and it overlaps like roof tiles. When those tiles lie flat, the hair feels smoother, water behavior is better, more predictable, and the fibers can glide past each other without snagging, right? But when those cuticle layers lift, when they chip or when they erode completely, the strand becomes rough and grabby. And guess what grabby strands do? They catch onto other grabby strands. And catching is what creates tangles. And tangles increase manipulation, which then increases detangling force. And higher detangling force makes our hair break. That loop is what causes bushy ends. So what is weathering? Weathering is the gradual deterioration of the hair shaft from the roots to the tip due to repeated grooming, repeated wetting and swelling cycles, repeated washing and conditioning, repeated friction from our daily lives, from heat or using chemicals or anything we do to our hair. The cuticles are the first line of defense. When it degrades, the cortex underneath it is exposed. This is why the hairs at the scalp can look okay and look fine, while the hairs at the ends of the hair look like they're picking a grudge with you. Now remember this exposed surface. It explains why a trim can look perfect and satisfying and yet fail to deal with the underlying issue. So if damage is a problem, why don't trims solve the problem? Trims only solve one thing. they removed the damaged ends. But if your routine keeps generating high friction and high detangling force at the ends of your hair, trims do not address the cause. I'm not saying don't cut your hair, we'll get to trims in a second. We need a trim. But what that means is that those fresh ends, after having cut it, they weather quickly and then you end right back where we are. We don't want that. This is why some people trim their hair often but never see any lasting difference in the ends of the hair and how the ends of the hair behave. That's because our routine keeps inflicting the same damage on these new freshly cut tips. Especially if you have fine hair, right? With a smaller margin for error, there is less material per strand, so damage becomes visible sooner, and so your hair looks even more see-through. It has even more knots, more tangles and breakage, of which knots and tangles are natural for natural hair, but not so much that the ends are so rough and so bushy and so dry, right? So here's what we can consider doing. Bushy ends come from 3 main drivers. Now let's recall the audit we did on our ends. Every point leads us back to one of these 3 drivers. Number 1 is surface roughness at the ends of the hair, caused by the absence of the lipid F layer and the peeling away slowly by slowly of the cuticle scales. We'll explain what that means in a second. Number 2, swelling fatigue from repeated wash and dry cycles, especially when the ends are constantly re-wet and remanipulated throughout the week. Number 3 is product behavior at the ends. So we either have too little of a stable foam so that friction remains very high, or we have too much residue from using too much products or from using heavy products that do not get washed properly. So drag and tangling increase, and then the strands are grabbing onto each other and marrying each other up. If our hair remains coated, rough, or difficult to lather after regular cleansing, hard water minerals may be contributing to the drag. This requires chelation, not another layer of oil, but we've got a dedicated hard water video, so check that out. Moving on. Good sealing of the hair is not just about adding an oil to the hair. Good sealing is about friction management, using a foam that stays helpful without turning into buildup. That is our goal. Now we get to the part that changes everything: friction and combing force. The most fragile moment of your entire week is when you wash your hair, and it is wet detangling. Wet hair is more vulnerable to stretching and to breaking under combing loads. You comb, the hair starts to acquire damage, and over time it breaks, especially when the cuticles are already rough. So if your ends are more weathered from being old, my ends are very weathered because I used to over shampoo my hair. I would wash the life out of my hair, completely ignoring the lipid layer. So if your ends are more weathered, and you detangle your hair without enough slip, or you detangle too roughly, or you detangle at too many points on wash day, especially when you have fine hair without slip, without a natural silkiness to it like my hair, you are essentially asking your hair to survive the highest force moment of the week in its weakest state, when it is wet. This is why your wash day technique and your conditioner slip matter more than your favorite oil in this world. Oils are excellent, we just need to know how to use them effectively so we don't cause buildup. In a moment, I'll show you the 3-layer system that creates slip without coating our hair into submission. In many routines, oils end up being used too light, right? Too little of it to meaningfully reduce combing force during the moments that matter, when we're detangling and styling, or we use too much of it so that the oils and the butters create buildup, which creates drag, and then drag creates grabbing onto strands and marrying each other up. This is why you can oil your ends daily and still have bushy ends. We are feeding shine, but we're not reducing friction, which is what we want. So what does sealing actually mean, and how do we do it correctly? Sealing means reducing fiber to fiber friction, reducing snagging, reducing swelling stress, and reducing the need for repeated mechanical manipulation. The most reliable way to do that is not just by applying oils. No, it is a conditioning base that drops detangling force, plus a leave-in film that keeps slip during the week or during the 2 weeks, plus cleansing that keeps the film at bay so that the film remains smooth rather than turning into drag that then causes strand to catch. Here's an analogy. If your ends are bushy, rough, very dry, right? Your surface jacket is either missing, or it is patchy, or it is unstable, right? The jacket is a lipid layer. An excellent routine lays down a thin, even layer of a flexible jacket so that the strands can glide past each other without catching onto each other. A bad routine either gives you no jacket at all, so that friction remains high, or gives you a sticky, uneven jacket so that drag and tangles increase. Fine hair especially needs the jacket to be thin and even, not thick and heavy. Okay, what oils are the best oils to use, especially after drying your hair? Before we get into that, using coconut oil or MCT oil as a pre-wash treatment, especially on the lower ends of your hair. Even if you don't do it on your entire head, apply just a little amount to the ends before you wash your hair. That will protect the ends of the hair from the damage that happens to the hair on wash day. We have a whole video on this topic, but these oils have a low molecular weight that allow them to penetrate the hair core and to fill internal pores in the hair, making the fiber more flexible and even blocking out harsh shampoo surfactants from leaching out essential proteins. As for oils, please use whatever oil you like, but know that the lighter the oil and the smaller the amount, the better for your hair, especially if you have low density or fine natural hair. What we want is consistency over intensity. So here's what actually works for the ends of your hair. Number one, a rinse out conditioner or a deep conditioner with real conditioning agents that lower wet detangling force, that lower wet combing force. Second, we want a leave-in conditioner that maintains the slip and reduces friction between the strands while your hair is in that style. Third, we want a top coat, right, in a tiny amount to reduce fiber to fiber friction. That top coat can be a lightweight silicone serum or a very lightweight oil or an oil serum. We have these things these days, perhaps used on dry hair so that we achieve a thin, even coating of the oil on our hair strands. And please use just enough so that we do not cause buildup. Now, how do we put all of this together? Thank you for asking. Number one, please pre-boot if you have to so that we're not rough with our hair in the shower. Number two, please focus your shampoo on your scalp and bring the suds down to wash your hair, but please do not aggressively scrub the lengths of the hair. Bring the suds down and wash in a downward manner. Step number three, condition and detangle only when your hair is completely saturated with an excellent conditioner and tons of water. If detangling feels like a workout, we're not protecting our ends. We want conditioners rich in dimethicones, amodimethicones, and polyquat polymers, as these molecules build up on a damaged surface and they fill longitudinal cracks in the hair shaft and restore a smooth surface that reduces friction when other hair strands glide across it, reduce tangling and reduce frizz. Step four, please rinse properly, but don't rinse overly, right? We don't want squeaky clean hair in the shower. That is a recipe for disaster. So rinse, but rinse just enough. If you do not rinse enough, we leave the shower with residue that turns into drag. The goal for our ends is for them to feel clean, for them to feel a little slippery, not waxy, not heavy, and not stripped either. Step 5 is to apply your leave-in while the ends are still damp and receptive, and apply just enough. Many products on the bottle say to apply your leave-in to damp hair. That instruction is there for a reason, right? The hair is more receptive. Apply your leave-in, spread it evenly. Okay, now to the sealing step. We seal in layers, and just so you know, we have been sealing this entire time since we shampooed our hair. Think primer, jacket, and top coat, right? The primer is your rinse out conditioner, and that drops with detangling force and deposits all the nice things onto our hair. The jacket is your leave-in conditioner that maintains slip during wear. And then the top coat is optional, right? We think we need oils and butters first, but we actually need an excellent layering system so that when we get to the oils, we don't need too much of it. So grab your serum or your oil and apply a tiny amount to the ends of your hair first, and then work your way up so that the ends get the most amount of oil, even though we're using only a tiny amount, right? Because the ends of our hair are really a different material. After applying your leave-in, apply your lightweight serum or your oil, rub it in your palms, and then smooth onto the ends of your hair and whatever is left can go up to the mids of your hair. The amount should be small enough that if someone touched your hair should not feel greasy. If your hair feels greasy, we've used too much, especially if we have fine hair or low density hair. For me, I apply my oil after drying because I don't want to use too much oil on my hair because I don't have a lot of hair and my hair collapses when I use heavy products. When I apply an oil to wet hair, I cannot tell how much of what's in my hair is oil or water or my styler. I can't tell, right? So after my hair is dry, I apply a small amount of oil to my ends and to my mids because these mids will become ends soon, right? And I want them in the best shape possible. Okay, so here's a trap that makes bushy ends worse. The trap is over handling the hair plus over layering onto the hair. The ends look rough, so we keep touching them, keep reapplying product, keep twisting, untwisting, smoothing, raking, wetting, doing all the things. All of that adds mechanical wear and swelling cycles. We're trying to fix a friction problem by causing more friction. Rough, dry ends need a good fix on wash day and little to no interference. Why? Because otherwise the ends will look worse the more we try, because we are literally abrading the ends while we're trying to save them. The more anxious we become about our ends, the more often we may handle them. So let's troubleshoot some common issues we have with our ends. If your ends look rough or dry right after styling your hair, your slip layer may be insufficient or uneven, or maybe you detangled with too much force. But if your ends look fine at first on wash day, but they get rougher over time, then maybe your foam is unstable or humidity sensitive, or you are getting friction exposure from your clothes and your collars and your shoulders with the scarves and everything, right? But if you notice that your ends get rougher after sleeping, that's night friction plus compression, and the solution here is better containment of the ends of our hair and a better bonnet or a scarf that stays in place hopefully and keeps the ends tucked away so they're not rubbing all through the night on cotton. If you notice that your bonnet is not helping, perhaps switching to a scarf may be better because that may keep your hair contained. Our hair does not need to be long enough for a pineapple. Short or highly shrunken hair can be placed into different loose sections, flat twists, or gentle bands, then covered with a secure scarf or a well-fitting bonnet. The goal is containment but without root tension. Now let's address protein and pH quickly, starting with proteins. Hydrolyzed proteins can help the fiber behave better by diffusing into the cortex of the hair and acting as a temporary glue to mend split ends and restore tensile strength until your next wash day. So the protein holds the cortex fragments together until you shampoo again. Once we shampoo, we undo most of that and we've got to add more protein again. But protein without slip can make your hair feel stiffer and rougher, which then increases tangling, and we don't want that. If you're using a protein treatment, please follow with an excellent deep conditioner. But if you use regular protein in regular products, right, most of these come in a nice conditioning base, so they should be fine. And then no matter what we do, always use a nice conditioner and a nice leave-in conditioner to bring back the slip to the hair. Now to pH. Using a spritz or pH balanced products, ideally around pH of 4.5, can help press the cuticles flatter so that they come back down and prevents the hair shaft from swelling, which is the primary cause of a rough and frizzy texture. Now I'm not too worried about this because in my opinion, reducing friction, containing the ends, and doing all the other items we have discussed carry more weight than worrying about the pH of a spritz that can bring the cuticles down. If you have a spritz already that does that, an acidic pH spritz, excellent. But if we use one without heat protectant, or we use the spritz plus detangling our hair roughly, or we sleep on cotton, or we do not seal the ends of our hair gently, we're not lubricating, the spritz will not outperform all of these things. Now for some reality checks. Some ends need to go. They need to be gone. If you already have split ends or severe see-through ends, right, no product will make that fiber behave differently permanently. A small trim removes the worst material, and that is good. Try care first when, number 1, the ends feel rough but remain structurally intact. Number 2, when the ends improve substantially with conditioner and slip. And number 3, when the ends behave differently depending on your wash day, your products, or your friction exposure. Then consider trimming when you see permanent splits, white fracture points, severe see-through wisps, repeated knot clusters, screws that cannot be released or ends that continue snapping despite a consistent low force routine. But whatever we do, trim according to evidence from our own hair rather than panic or an arbitrary calendar. The long-term fix is that the new ends must now enter a different routine, low friction and low detangling force. Otherwise, they will become bushy again and then we'll keep trimming our hair. Trimming is only damage removal, but the cure for dry ends is weathering prevention. So here's the takeaway. Weathering is cumulative. We fix bushy ends by lowering friction and lowering force. How do we do that? By sealing the mids and ends of our hair when we condition our hair, when we apply a leave-in conditioner, and when we apply a lightweight oil or serum to our hair that reduces friction. And you achieve all of this by using less and less product, enough for how much hair we actually have, and by cleansing our hair properly and regularly. Then remember to contain the ends and leave them be. A trim removes fiber that has already passed the point of usual recovery. Your routine determines how quickly the new ends reach that point again. And remember, today's mids are tomorrow's ends. Protect them before they become the part that you're trying to save. Speaking of sealing the ends, before you put another oil on the ends of your hair, watch this video next. I rank the best and worst oils and butters for fine natural hair, including which ones reduce friction and which ones may be making your tangles worse. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.